In the heart of a vast, untouched jungle, where the trees towered like silent giants and the air buzzed with life, a child was born, a child who would grow to become a legend. His name was Tarzan. He had no memory of the world before the jungle. His parents, who had been stranded on an ill-fated expedition, had died in a violent storm when he was just a baby. Alone and vulnerable, the infant Tarzan was discovered by Kala, a wise and compassionate gorilla. She took him in, cradling him as one of her own, and raised him amidst the great beasts of the jungle. The jungle was a place of danger and beauty, of endless skies and dark, secretive paths. Tarzan, growing up surrounded by creatures of every size and kind, learned the language of the wild. The rhythm of the leaves in the wind, the calls of the birds, the deep hum of the river, they all spoke to him as a part of him, as though the jungle itself were his true home. As Tarzan grew older, he became a part of the jungle's pulse. He swung from the trees with the grace of a jaguar, and the gorillas, who had once watched him with curiosity, now looked to him for leadership. His body, molded by the wild, was strong and swift, but his heart remained tender, especially when it came to Kayla, who had shown him what love was. But despite his deep connection to the jungle, there was a part of him that felt incomplete. There were moments when he would stand at the edge of the jungle, staring at the horizon, wondering about the world beyond the trees. Who were the people who had left the strange remnants of their campfires behind? What lay beyond the mountains and the rivers? And most of all, who was he, really? One fateful day, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Tarzan's world changed. A ship appeared on the distant horizon, its sails catching the wind. The sight of it stirred something deep inside him, and he could not resist. He followed the trail, moved by an unspoken pull, and eventually he saw them, a group of strangers. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. Their clothes were strange, their faces pale, and they spoke in a language he could not understand. Among them was a woman. Her name was Jane. She stood apart from the others, her eyes wide with awe as she gazed at the jungle. Her curiosity was palpable, her spirit one that matched Tarzan's in its yearning for something beyond the ordinary. As she ventured closer to the jungle, Tarzan, ever watchful, observed her from the shadows. Something about her intrigued him, a connection, though he couldn't quite explain it. Days passed, and Tarzan, ever the silent watcher, followed Jane from afar. He saw her marvel at the animals, her laughter echoing through the trees as she befriended the creatures of the jungle. But he also saw the danger that lurked on the edges of the jungle. The men with her were not there to study the land. They were there to exploit it. They brought with them greed, weapons, and the desire to conquer what was untamed. One evening, as Jane ventured too far from the group, Tarzan could no longer stay hidden. His curiosity, his longing for something he couldn't name, drove him forward. He stepped into the open, revealing himself to Jane. She froze, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. Tarzan stood before her, wild and untamed, yet there was something about him that was not savage. There was a softness in his gaze, a sadness even, as though he, too, was searching for something. Jane, though frightened, saw the pain in his eyes. She spoke to him softly, her voice full of wonder. "Who are you?" she asked. Tarzan could not answer with words. He had no language, no understanding of what she was asking, but the way she looked at him, with kindness and curiosity, made him feel understood in a way that no one ever had. Slowly, he reached out, offering her a hand. In the days that followed, Jane and Tarzan formed an unspoken bond. She taught him words, the language of the humans, and through those words, Tarzan learned about the world beyond the jungle, about cities, about love, about life beyond the trees. And in turn, Tarzan showed Jane the jungle's secrets, the hidden paths, the beauty of the wild, and the creatures that called it home. But as they grew closer, the shadows of the jungle grew darker. The men with Jane were hunting animals, destroying what they did not understand. Tarzan's loyalty to the jungle, to his gorilla family, and to Jane, whom he had come to love, pulled him in two directions. One day, the inevitable clash came. Tarzan, fueled by the love he had found for both the jungle and Jane, fought to protect his home. The battle was fierce, and the jungle seemed to come alive, its creatures rallying to his side. In the end, the hunters were driven away, but not without loss. Jane stood by Tarzan, her heart torn between her duty to her world and her love for him. She knew that she could never truly leave the jungle behind, but neither could she abandon the world she had come from.